We gather here today with our sorrow, with our anxieties, with our anger. We gather here today to heal, to learn, to grow. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever you bring to this place, you are welcome. It is good to be together. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marsh. I'm a member of New Unity in North London. I'm going to be leading today's sermon. I'll speak a little bit more later about myself and what I'm here to speak about. For now, please rise as you're able and join us for Song 1, We Have Gathered, number 62 in your books. Thank you, everyone. That was wonderful. As I said before, my name is Marsh. I'm a member of New Unity congregation in North London, visiting here today as part of my training towards ministry. It's a real privilege to be here in Brighton today, and it's a real honour to be here in front of you all. I've only been to Brighton a few times in my life, but my partner used to live here, and it's really nice coming and seeing like it not as a tourist, seeing it with you all here. So thank you so much for inviting me today. Something we often do at New Unity is we make sure to include everybody in the congregation. It's not just everyone with your beautiful faces looking this way. We try to get people mixing up as well. So I'd like to invite you all to spend the next few minutes greeting your neighbour, maybe standing up if you can, and ideally speaking to somebody you haven't spoken to before. We'll give a few minutes for that, so please greet your neighbours. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for greeting your neighbours and joining us today. I'd like to invite Kathy up, who's going to read to us the poem Ozymandias by Percy Shelley.
I met a traveller from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on those lifeless things. The hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away."
Thank you. I'd like to invite us all now to join in a period of quiet reflection. And there'll be some music at the end to let us know that we're finished. As Unitarians, it's often difficult for us to agree on what we believe. If you ask 100 Unitarians to describe our beliefs, you'll get about 100 different answers. Therefore, we find it easier often to talk about what we don't believe in. I was just thinking, just then, in that moment of silence, is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it reflection? Is it fellowship? Whatever you describe it as kind of says a little bit about what you believe, I think. But generally speaking, we don't believe in a lot of things. Unitarians make for very poor doomsday preachers, which is why I'm here today to remedy that. I am here to tell you that the end of the world is coming. The end is nigh. It feels very strange to be stood here and to make such a statement, so let me elaborate. For as long as there have been religions, there have been those that tell us that the end of the world is coming. The fancy word for this is eschatology, and it's something that exists across practically every faith, with very few exceptions. Some people believe in the second coming of Christ, others believe in a serpent that will swallow the sun. For much of human civilization, the end of the world, that's not a cue, don't worry. That's just the French elections breaking in, don't worry. So I completely lost where I was. For much of human civilization, the end of the world has always seemed like it was just around the corner. Today, in our more secular world, we often hear from doomsday preachers. Every day there are new headlines about climate change, about wars, about extinctions, and so on. Every day we hear that the end of the world is coming. The noise becomes so strong that sometimes it's easier to ignore these messages than to try to comprehend their meaning. Humans have always felt like they were living through the end of the world. And in a way, they were right. In the poem we heard earlier, Percy Shelley talks about the once all-powerful King Ramses II, who was known as Ozymandias to the Greeks. Ramesses was considered the most powerful ruler at the height of ancient Egypt's powers. He controlled the largest area in the New Kingdom period and built hundreds of temples and statues, including the statue that inspired Shelley's poems, which you can see today in the British Museum. Ramesses was known as the Great, long before Alexander the Great, Alfred the Great, Frederick the Great, the first and the greatest. He was the most powerful ruler that had ever lived, the progenitor of a dynasty that would rule the world for 1,000 years. Or so that was what was believed at the time. To an ordinary Egyptian living under Ramesses, the end of the New Kingdom would have seemed like an apocalypse. To imagine a time when Ramesses and his descendants did not rule was completely unimaginable. But Shelley's poem was not really about Ramesses. Written in 1817 in London, it was inspired by the Ottomans, another great and immortal empire that ruled over Egypt at the time, another empire that seemed like it would last for 1,000 years. When the Ottomans conquered Constantinople in 1453, many believed it was the end of the world. It was the end of Europe, the end of the West, the end of Christendom. But from that great downfall emerged a new world, one that would spread across much of the world to Egypt and beyond, and one that, just as Ramses' world had, would one day fall too. The end of the world has always felt close, because our human history is filled with examples of these downfalls. The story of human civilization is one of many great cycles of downfall and rebirth. And it's very important to remember that last part, rebirth. When today's doomsday preachers tell us that the world is ending, they are, in a sense, right. We are standing at a great turning point in history, the beginning of the end of this world and the birth of a new one. The American sci-fi author Ursula K. Le Guin once wrote that we live under capitalism. Its power seems inescapable and all-encompassing, but so too did the divine right of kings. Every world that has been built has been unbuilt. This seems like a dark and terrifying prospect, but it is one that I think we can take some comfort in too. Every war will end, every tyrant will fall. The great injustices of our world, that our world are built upon, will one day end, because they one day must. You may have seen recent news of the campaign group Just Stop Oil painting Stonehenge orange to highlight the need to divest from fossil fuels and to protect our planet. It was a powerful and shocking statement that upset many people. Maybe in Brighton it didn't upset as many people as it did where we're from, I'm not sure. But Stonehenge stands as a reminder of our connection to a world beyond our own time. It was built long before Ramesses II's Great Kingdom. The site was used, developed, and built over 2,000 years. It's not quite right to say that Stonehenge was built, because there was never really a time when it was finished. There was never any ribbon cutting or anything like that. Rather, 5,000 years in the making, this sacred site, with its recent coat of paint, connects us to some of our most ancient ancestors. It reminds us that humanity has weathered countless storms and that countless worlds have ended only for our great species to rebuild, each time new, better, each time rising from some downfall. Stonehenge is a teacher from the past, but not one whose lesson ends today. It teaches us that when we build the world it teaches us that when we build the world we live in, we are building it for a future that we will never see. When we learn from the past and aim to build a world that will last well into the future, we ensure that our descendants will survive whatever great downfall might be coming on the horizon. There is an idea that I think encapsulates this best. The seventh day principle is a school of, the seventh generation principle is a school of thought that's derived from a number of indigenous practices across the world. But simply put, the idea is that everything that is built and created in our world should in some way serve the next 7 generations. Not just ourselves, our children, or our grandchildren, but our common descendants hundreds of years from now. Coincidentally, the first Unitarian church in England was built in 1774. That's 7 or 8 generations of Unitarians that have come before us. Imagine if they had taken this principle into account, what kind of world they may have strived for. The 7th generation principle teaches us to look beyond simplified ideas of sustainability and towards something even greater. Yes, the immediate changes, like those that we need to make every day, that we're told to make every day by modern-day doomsday preachers, are incredibly important part of this. But so too is a more spiritual approach that turns us into active participants in a future that is far beyond us. The lessons of Stonehenge are not set in stone. So I just realized that was a pun I didn't mean to write. We are not done learning them yet. We're not done teaching them yet, rather. Today's protesters remind us of the important lesson and help us to ensure that we are working every day towards this 7th generation principle. Connecting with the past and with our ancestors is an important part of the message, but it is only half of the story. It is important for us to remember and to honor those who came before us, like those who built Stonehenge. It is important to remember and honor those who will come after us. It is incredibly important to learn lessons from all the downfalls that have come before us. And it is important to try to build a world that will always rise again. To honor them with our actions, to build a world that is just and free, to lavish them with our music and our art, to record and express the vast beauty of our world, to teach them every lesson that we can teach, and to love them and to cherish them as we might our own kin, because they are our own kin, 7 generations away. Our world may be coming to an end, but it is for their world that we must act today. We must begin to imagine ourselves standing in both the past and the future. We must see our efforts as a spiritual collective. We must see ourselves as a collective humanity rooted in deep time that will outlast every turmoil that has befallen us. Unitarians make poor doomsday preachers, but today I want to remind you the end of the world is coming, and it's up to us to ensure that our legacy will stand the test of time. Thank you. Please rise as you're able and join us in singing hymn 98. Sorry. As I mentioned, I am still quite early on in my training, and telling the time is not one of my skills yet. So I've realized with playing horror that I've forgotten about 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to improvise. At our congregation in Unity, we have a moment every Sunday, which I'd like to share with you because I think it's a lovely tradition, where we light candles. We call them candles for joy and candles for sorrow. And what we do is we invite people to come up, to light a candle and to share anything that's on their mind, to light a candle. Yeah, thank you so much, yes. To light a candle for someone you're thinking about, to light a candle for something that's happening in the world, to light a candle for any sort of, oh, we have a table, wonderful. To light a candle for any sort of, anything that might be on your mind, any joys or sorrows. So I'd like to share this tradition with you all today and invite anybody who has anything that they'd like to share up today to share. I'll open by lighting a candle of, I suppose, hope for the French elections, which are happening just next door, and also much further south, obviously, in France, and hope that the outcomes of that are a step towards a better world. Would anyone like to come up and share anything today?
It's more difficult than it looks, isn't it? I'd like to share a candle starting of sorrow, but then joy. My sister was in the hospital, had sepsis of the heart, and it seemed really touch and go, but she recovered, and is now taking some rest. So I'm very grateful that she passed through that.
I'd like to share a candle for my oldest daughter, who's in her late 50s. We've had a difficult relationship since she was born into troubled times in the family. It was a troubled family. And another daughter, Kitty, has been part of our lives. And it comes to a head every now and then. It did recently. She cut off conversation with me. And I was trying so hard to think how to reopen conversation. And I turned up a poem by Ruby this morning where he says, he describes a preacher who prayed for all the villains of the world. And when his congregation asked him, why do you pray for all the villains and not the good people? He said, because they are the ones who teach me what it is I believe in. And when I read this, I thought, my daughter, my experience is that she's very angry with me and she doesn't respect me. But if I just recoil from that, I'm not showing what I believe in. So I made a gesture this morning and she responded.
Sure. Well, I'm going to follow on from what Patricia has just shared with my daughter, who we also had a difficult relationship for some time. And a few weeks ago, she said to me, Mum, why do people not like me? And I said, well, you're absolutely perfect just the way you are. You don't have to change a thing. You are a perfect human being. And if they don't like you, it's not your fault. And she was really grateful. I think I said the right thing at that point, but it hasn't always been easy. Mothers and daughters.
Thinking of my grandson, who will be 4 tomorrow. He's at the moment covered in spots because he's got chicken pox. So thinking of him and his mum and dad and hoping they're all well.
Well, I'm going to jump on the mother-daughter theme. So my mum was lovely, but she wasn't a close person for all sorts of reasons to do with her own background. And she had very long, horrible illness of dementia before she died. She was ill for about 15 years. But anyway, she died about 3 years ago. But in the last 6 months or so, she pops into my dreams, and she did actually last night. And it's the most delightful thing. She's in the kitchen, she's cooking. That was kind of what she did. And it was it's always lovely. And I wake up, not sort of thinking, I wish she was here, but more, oh, thanks for coming. So thanks for coming last night, Mum. And maybe thank you for nice dreams.
Yes, mother-daughter. My mother fairly recently passed away, and one of the most magical things about it was, although she'd always wished that my sisters would talk to one another, she never got to actually see that in her time. But the day she died, they did start talking together again, and I felt that she was there and felt it, and we had a little high five over it. So it was a lot of time and effort, but it felt like it changed the turn of a tide of separation and breaking of roots, because mother and daughters obviously is a very powerful thing of roots in our culture. And I'd also like to just thank everybody here, thank you to anybody and bless anybody who has the strength and the will and the hard work to carry on caring in this world.
I have a new step great granddaughter. She's sorry? Sorry. Thank you. I wear hearing aids, so I don't hear what you say. I have seen photos of my step great granddaughter. She's coming up for a year. Her name is Nova Rose, and she has Down syndrome. And I would like to light a candle for her and wish that she be blessed through her life.
Okay, with me for this one. Talking about mothers and daughters, I'm thinking of the mother of democracy, the goddess Athena in Athens. But I just like to be joyful for the upcoming election. And I think I don't think we're allowed to, for tax reasons, we're not allowed to say too much about who you should or shouldn't vote for. But I think democracy is something very important, and we should always be wary of those that try to take it away from anyone.
Anyone else like to share anything? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that improvised moment. That was really lovely. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to light one last candle, as always. You've never met me before, but as we do it, for all of the joys and sorrows that were left unspoken today as well. Let love bind us, and let love move us. Let us build bridges and tear down walls. Let our actions be a vessel for love and justice. We extinguish this flame now, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. As we move into the world, we carry these things with us until we all meet again. Thank you. Would you like to?
Thanks, Marsh, for coming, and have a good rest of the day in Brighton. Thank you also, Joe, for the music. That was really lovely. And thanks, Pete, for doing the setting up and doing the live streaming, and our best wishes to Stuart, our caretaker, who's not well today. Thank you to Fiona and Alan for doing the teas and coffees. And thank you, Chloe, for stepping in and handing out the hymn books. This week, there's no music and silence on Wednesday, so if you normally come to that, then the doors won't be open, so go somewhere else nice if you come by mistake. And the Friday lunchtime concert is somebody called Matthew Sear, who's on guitar, and he's presenting some Handel and other things, but also some of his own improvised music. Next week, our service will be led by our member, John Nash. That'll be here in person, and you're all welcome to stay around and have teas and coffees, chats, whatever you want. It'll be coming in here, the trolley. Thank you for anybody who gives their donations on a regular basis via their bank account. We also have a card reader. If you're feeling generous, that'd be really nice. And somewhere, I think, if anybody wants to give some cash, then we also have a bowl. Or are we doing the... No, we're not doing the... No. Oh, thank you. Is it Jennifer? Just... Excuse me. It's not John, he must be the week after. It's Eleanor Chiari. So she's coming next week. Thank you very much. Enjoy your coffees and teas. See you. What is it? Have I not said that? I have. Okay. Keep up.